Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being with us. I'm joined by a very special guest, Anish Shah, the Group CEO and Managing Director of the Mahindra Group, a federation of companies that spans over 20 industries across more than 100 countries. Under Dr. Shah's leadership, Mahindra is not only driving innovation in traditional sectors, but is also making bold strides in the electric vehicle market. With models like the BE6 and the XEV9e, Mahindra is redefining mobility and cutting-edge technology. Let's delve into how Mahindra is steering towards a sustainable future, the challenges of the EV industry, and the group's expansive vision for global growth. Thank you very much, Dr. Anish Shah, for being with us. It's wonderful to speak to you once again. I suppose the first question I
It's
would
a
have
pleasure
to
being
ask
here with
you,
you, Vishnu. Thank you.
I suppose the first question that I must ask you is on your new electric vehicles. They are fantastic to look at. They've sort of stolen my heart. You're forcing me to put some money away for them. But the designs are radical, and some would suggest that that would have been a real leap of faith. How radical do you go with your car designs? What is Mahindra's philosophy?
Vishnu, our philosophy is to create the best products that we can for customers. We want them to be compared with products in multiple segments above where we are. And we're redefining quality for the Indian customer. Because what we have created in our ICE vehicles over the past few years, as well as in our EV vehicles today, is a very, very different level of quality. And that encompasses design, right? Handling, interiors, safety, performance, all factors.
But tell me, now that we've actually got you, was it a huge debate within Mahindra? Were there discussions, disagreements on the designs? Were there those who felt that no, we need to be more conservative in how we do this? Was there a healthy debate, or did you finally just say, no, let's just take the plunge?
Vishnu, we operate with a few set of principles. One is empowerment for our teams. Second is leadership behaviors that we want to drive, which is agility, boldness, and collaboration. And third is setting an ambition that is high enough for everyone to be inspired, and they need to be able to deliver something that's outstanding. So as you look at a combination of these three things, it really wasn't a debate internally at all.
Okay.
The teams were empowered. There was a very high degree of agility, and in fact, we've got a number of folks in our auto team, the leaders there who were working very closely together, and they came up with these set of designs as well as the technical aspects of the product. And it's that level of collaboration, agility, and being bold that has got us to being able to deliver products such as these.
You know, Dr. Shah, about almost a year back, we were having a chat in Davos, and the question I had to ask you then was on the progress of battery technology for EVs. Now, the B6 and the XEV9E have a certified range of just under of 682 kilometers and 656 kilometers respectively. That's based on the modified Indian driving cycle test, with your 79 kWh battery pack. Now that's really robust. And our driving conditions are some of the harshest in the world. It rains, it snows, it's extremely hot, it's exceptionally dusty. Can you explain to us the significance of the breakthrough in reliable battery technology that people can now overcome the worry that you will run out of charge before you reach your destination? How much of a challenge was that?
That was a huge challenge, and that was a very important factor for us because if someone has a car, they want to make sure that it's going to work at all times and that they have enough buffer to take care of any exigencies. And that's the reason why we wanted to ensure a range that essentially has people forget about the fact that this is electric and this requires charging. Most people will charge once a week. And in addition to the numbers you mentioned of 682 and 656 kilometers from a rating standpoint, we've taken these vehicles to multiple parts of India over the last 6 to 8 months and done very extensive testing. The testing has been done in 21 cities, in various rural areas in Ladakh, in numerous different conditions, and we have real life data on what the range is. And yes, real life is often lower than the numbers that are certified. And we've got over 500 kilometers in every one of the 21 cities that we've operated in. And we have data specifically on based on the driving conditions of each city, what is a potential range that you have there. But anything over 500 kilometers is huge. And that really means that consumers don't need to worry about range at all. The other aspect is around safety. And you mentioned rain, wind, snow, sand, and all of those factors have been taken into account as we look at the battery. In fact, at our launch, we had the battery in fire, we had the battery in water, we had nail that penetrates the battery, and the safety mechanism stood up extremely well. So what we're doing is basically taking some of the past concerns that existed with electric vehicles and ensuring that they're addressed in such a strong manner that the consumer doesn't have to worry about it at all.
Would you, and I'm sure you would, like a lot more infrastructure on our roads and our highways? If there are petrol stations, there need to be many more ports where people can charge their electric vehicles. In terms of the future and the growth of this part of the auto industry, how crucial is that?
I think that is an important factor, but with the advances we have in the vehicle right now, it's become less of a factor. And this is one area we're actually working very closely with the government on to identify which highways, or rather, which points on each highway. And what you really need is a set of charging stations at a 40-kilometer gap on all the major highways in the country. That combined with what's available at home office and what can be put in public spaces, even like hotels, yes, some petrol pumps, etc., that should be sufficient enough from a charging standpoint for electric vehicles.
You've also had another incredible launch this year, the Thar Rocks. Now, if I was to ask you which one you preferred, your new EVs or the Thar Rocks, would you have two different teams at Mahindra fighting with you?
No, for us, it's the same team that has launched both. I'm actually going to go back to one point on charging, which is with the technology advances, our vehicles can be charged in 20 minutes to go from 20% to an 80% charge. And that really takes away a lot of the concerns that consumers have. And coming back to Thar Rocks versus EVs, it's the same team. Both are fantastic products. Both have seen tremendous demand from consumers. And they are for both rough terrains as well as a sophisticated and suave setting in a city.
I'm just fascinated by the design variants. I mean, in a sense, you've got radical electric vehicles, almost a space-age design, and you've got the Thar Rocks, which is more conventional, more traditional, more along the lines, albeit much modified and improved, of what I've grown up seeing Mahindra vehicles like. How do you as a group reconcile the two design images? I mean, I use the word two design images. I don't know if you'll agree with me, but the vehicles look very different is my point.
Yes, they do, Vishnu. And that again is by design because we want to appeal to a wide range of customers. Also, our born electric vehicles require a futuristic look because they are futuristic vehicles. And that's the reason why we went ahead with that set of designs. But for us, it's important to have character in each of our vehicles. And that's what makes it distinctive. We are not coming up with vehicles that are a me too, that's just equal to everyone else. It's that character that sets us apart. And that's what we mean by an authentic SUV.
I think the obvious follow-up question would, of course, be safety. Now, the safety has been a huge priority for your entire group. These are all cars with a 5-star safety rating. Can we I mean, how important is it that for the first time in the Indian auto sector, there is a genuine concern among customers as well, increasing about the importance of protecting lives? And how is that something which is now one of your foremost priorities?
So, Vishnu, that is a critical concern, and for us, it has always been our number one priority. A lot of work has been done. For us, protecting the consumer comes first. Everything else follows because it's most important that a family goes home safe or a person in the family goes home safe. And therefore, we will not compromise on safety in any way. And that's what you've seen in terms of results that we have with all our vehicles. For us, 5 star is the highest rating, but if there was a higher one than that, that's what we would aspire to.
And to answer a basic question, which so many disbelievers of electric vehicles would be, I mean, a lot of people would say, an electric car? No, what if it catches fire? And you spoke a little bit more about it. Can you talk a little bit more about how the design of your new EVs, I mean, they've come up from ground up. These aren't, batteries installed on existing models. There is design from the very onset. There is safety from the very onset of the design process. How significant is that from a safety standpoint?
That makes a significant difference because the protection for the batteries was a starting point for the design. Nothing should happen to the batteries in any event. It doesn't matter whether there is a fire around the car or whether there's water around the car or the car crashes into something, the battery should stay strong. So when you start with that and design the rest of the vehicle around it, it gives a much better result overall. And as I mentioned in our launch, we actually showcased that. And it was a live demonstration with customers there, or with media there, and with analysts and investors there. And that live demonstration really showed the integrity of the battery because that is, again, comes back to safety from a customer standpoint. That's foremost in their minds and foremost in our minds, that there should be no compromise from a safety standpoint, and that's where all the effort has gone in.
Dr. Shah, let's move away from your EVs to the India EV story. Now, I was going through some statistics today. China's electric vehicle industry dwarfs India in size. In 2024, their EV market was projected or is projected to reach a volume of $376.4 billion. In comparison, our EV market size is expected to reach just under 35 billion by the end of this year, which is now. Is enough being done in India to encourage the transition to the EV space? Obviously, it's not just manufacturers and models which you feel will appeal, but there's the role of the government as well. Are we doing enough as a country?
I would say that we are doing enough. And yes, we may have started, or we rather have started later than China and a few other countries around the world. But today, everything that's required to make EVs a success is in place. We have the right incentive structure. We have the focus that's required from our regulation and getting EVs on the road standpoint, which includes incentives to not have road taxes and so on. We have the charging mechanisms coming up, and charging comes up only after there's a strong demand from good products. So it's unfair to expect a charging mechanism or an infrastructure to be in place before a strong set of products comes in. With our born electric vehicles, we're going to see a number of very good electric vehicle products come into place that will bring charging in. So I think we have everything we need. India has the ability to leapfrog. We've done that in the past in different product sets. And I have a feeling we will do that here as well.
Dr. Shah, I could get carried away and talk cars with you all day because that's something which fascinates me. But in fact, you're a custodian of a huge group. I mean, you lead a huge group with very diverse interests. And you're also custodian of Mahindra's RISE philosophy. How do you, for our audience, could you tell us what that means, and how is that something which permeates through your entire group? I mean, you are the custodian of Mahindra RISE.
So Vishnu, let me start with the ideals that were laid down by our founders. In 1945, our founders put an ad in the Times of India that talked about the principles under which Mahindra and Mahindra was being set up. And those principles outlined dignity of labor. It outlined the fact that neither caste nor creed nor color shall come in the way of meritocracy. It talked about a number of things that today would read like an ESG manifesto. And that is the root of our RISE philosophy. The philosophy really comes from enabling others to succeed. And for us, RISE is drive positive change in the lives of our communities to enable them to rise. Because only when they rise will we rise. So together we rise. And that is a philosophy that puts purpose ahead of profits.
Yeah.
And that's how we operate. You talked about safety in vehicles. For us, that comes first. Profits will come after. And it has enabled us to get profits. But for us, the RISE philosophy is what we embed in each of our associates to say that that's the value system that we will live. And you're right to use the word custodian, because as leaders, we are custodians of the RISE philosophy. But as custodians, our responsibility is to make sure that we are actively living that philosophy every day in everything we do.
We've spoken about new car models. We've spoken about your philosophy. There is also the question of sustainability, and sustainability is such a huge word. But let's talk a little bit about recycling. The recycling of old vehicles, which helps reduce air pollution. It makes our environment more sustainable. It does, in one sense, open up our residential spaces. For example, it creates safer roads. Now, Zero is a part of the Mahindra Group. It also helps to reduce India's dependence on the import of steel scrap, which is approximately 8 million tons every year. How is this an area which is set to grow? And secondly, why is it important for us in India beyond just the Mahindra Group?
If you look at vehicles on the road, the maximum pollution is from vehicles that are older. From a Pareto basis, 15 years plus, 10 years plus, and then even some of the more recent ones, because BS6 for diesel was a norm that was introduced only about 3 to 4 years ago. And that has made a huge difference in terms of the current set of vehicles. And therefore, as a country, it is very important to get some of the old vehicles off the road because that has a disproportionate impact on pollution in our cities. And that's where Zero comes in. We've set up 24 plants around the country. Today, our capacity utilization is 10%, but we believe that this is a space that requires that investment, and therefore we put in investment well ahead of the demand. And it's something that we feel will help significantly in terms of a better environment.
When we talk about sustainability, you're also co-chairperson of the India Alliance of CEOs for Climate Change. And Mahindra has huge ideals in terms of sustainability. Could you define, your own role in taking this forward, not just for your company or your group, but also as part of a larger vision which we have in this country?
On this, Vishnu, we've done a lot of work. And in addition to the Alliance of CEOs in India, I'm also on multiple forums with the World Economic Forum in terms of helping drive sustainability, being a leader in that. Because for us, this is consistent with the RISE philosophy. And the Mahindra Group actually began its efforts in sustainability in 2008, well before this became a burning platform. And we've done over 2,000 projects. We made some very significant and meaningful advances in terms of sustainability. And let me just give you one example. We signed up for what's called EP100 or Energy Productivity 100. What this means is that if you can reach 100% efficiency and productivity, you can manufacture the same number of products with half the energy that was used. And we use 2009 as a baseline. Our target was EP 100 by 2030. We reached that target last year. And today, our auto business is at 120, our farm business is at 95. What this means is that we can produce the same number of SUVs and tractors as we did in 2009 with half the amount of energy. We often talk about movement from fossil energy to renewable energy. In this case, you don't need half the energy. And then that's a big step forward. The other example I will give is moving to renewable energy. And that's a target around RE100, which again, we had committed to getting to 100% by 2030, which we will get there by end of next year. We've got a number of renewable plants coming up, and that should take us to 80% in a very short time frame, and then we get to 100% from there. So there are a number of different efforts that we've taken the lead on across our businesses. In our real estate business, we've launched net zero residential buildings. And this was something that was a huge hit in Bangalore where we launched them and we got sold out very quickly on that. We've got net zero resorts across the country. And across each of our businesses, we are thinking about how do we drive sustainability. It's not just something that we look at from a CSR standpoint, it's something that's core to business for us.
All right. Dr. Anish Shah, always wonderful speaking to you, and thank you so much for doing this. But you still haven't answered, my question, because you're very diplomatic. You prefer the rocks or do you prefer your B6? Or you haven't answered that question.
So Vishnu, I prefer the rocks when I have to drive myself and go outside Mumbai. I prefer the electric vehicle when I'm going for a dinner in the evening. So it's both. I cannot select one versus the other. I think both are outstanding, and I love using both of them.
Are these electric vehicles going to define Mahindra in the international stage as well? Do we see these in foreign markets going forward?
Definitely, because the quality of these vehicles will allow us to compete in various international markets, and we are drawing out plans to go to multiple markets with them.
All right, it's been a momentous year for Mahindra. Thank you very much, Dr. Shah, for speaking to us. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.